I'm here. Hello everybody, welcome. It is Monday, 3 p.m., June 27th, 2016. I'm in Chicago. It's quite warm outside today. And, hey, Praetorian, thank you. Oh, Jimmy Butler's on the 2016 Olympic team. I saw a lot of basketball players aren't doing the Olympics this year. But good for Jimmy. Anyway, we have some problems that Tom is currently debugging. He's got the save system. So, unfortunately at the moment I can't run the game. It's just a bit of a problem. Yeah, I have the latest version, and when I hit run, yeah, let's just hang out and talk. Well, I mean, this is actually a good time because what I'm doing is I'm currently preparing my talk for the Type A Game Developers Forum. No, I'm not using my, despite what this seems like, I'm not just using my GDC talk. It's simply mostly just a really good template, since it like introduces myself and has a bit of what I'm talking about, and then I gotta explain the game anyway. So besides, I am making changes. But I thought, while we're waiting for Tom, we will just talk about this. Oh yes, yeah, I saw you post about that. Thank you, by the way. Hey, Important Little Games. Rob Lockhart, hello, how are you doing? Have you recovered from Indie PopCon? I'm doing very important research. Oh, right. How was that, Rob? The talk was not my first public talk. You know what? Let me go ahead and tweet. Man, I think I need new glasses. I'm having to lean forward to see better. Okay. Yeah, Rob went to... We were at Indie PopCon together. Rob was showing his game Codemancer, which is a game that teaches you people how to program. And then I think right after that... The what? I just saw people post about that. What is that? Let's see, Twitch cheering? Seems like it was named after me. Interesting. Twitch currency, you can buy bits starting at $1.40 for 100. More like cheer, CHYR. Oh, interesting. So I guess you do make money. Oh shit. Okay, this looks really cool. This is actually the best one. It looks like I think you probably have to be a partner to do it. Interesting. Cheering. Keep talking, nobody explodes. I will actually be talking. Ben Kane is going to be, who's one of the developers of Keep Talking, will also be at the Taipei Game Developers Forum. He's talking about VR, kind of what's it like to develop for a platform that's kind of shifting and changing all the time. Hey, Ms. Stream. I suppose it works out better than normal donations. Yeah, because I think when you donate right now through Twitch alerts, Twitch doesn't get a cut. Actually, that was one of the things that they talked about when they sort of what made Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes works, is that it's a game that you can also play not on VR. Because otherwise you're like totally dependent on a market that is still being established. You know, it's like, what are the storefronts? Do people even have the devices? So the way they sort of manage to make a VR experience that's also not VR dependent. But the VR aspect of it is what gave them a lot of the how would you call it? Kind of like the press boost. So this is what I'm talking about here. Sort of, you can see this is the time. Basically, this was a mechanic that I had at the time where it was sort of like Rush Hour. I don't know if it's this little game, and it comes with the different cards with a bunch of different arrangements, and then the whole point is to kind of slide these around so you can get the red card out. And I tried to do something similar with this one, but this was back when I didn't have like a really strong understanding of UI. Hey, Jacket, how you doing? So I remember like when Kevin Zoom played it, it just took him a long time before he realized he could actually move these things because they don't look movable. And this is kind of when I started redoing things. Oh, by the way, here is a really cool game that you guys should check out. It's called The Endless Express. I haven't actually played it, but it does look very cool, and it's free, I believe. Yeah, name your own price. But really like the art style here. Back to work from a trip to Norway. How was that? So we got this other post about kind of games that are coming out in Chicago by Andrew Hayward. Justice 2. Holy shit, this is coming out soon. I keep seeing this, like, this is the one where you see people freaking out with the Vive, and it's this game. This is, I'm speaking at the Type A Game Developers Forum. So I'm actually leaving on Wednesday, which is pretty crazy because I feel like I just sort of am getting back into things. Okay, Tom made another fix. So we'll see, a fjord up there, really common. Oh man, I have not been to Scandinavia yet, and I would very much like to do that at some point. It seems like a beautiful part of the world. Yeah. So the what's different about this talk is I'm actually focusing specifically on the art style of Manifold Garden. Kind of talking about the evolution of that and sort of not just showing the changes, but like yeah, it's too much. I'm done traveling after this. I can't keep doing this. Hey, Jernicus, how are you doing? The Firewatcher, yeah, I saw that. That was... I think if they did that, I'd be kind of flattered. They just took it straight. Like, Game Informer has a piece about it. It's pretty funny. They just took it straight from the website, I guess. Yeah, I mean, I would be flattered and also very, very angry. Because it's sort of like, man, I'm glad that my work is good enough that you want to steal it, but also like... This is just a Firewatch. It's not even like the idea. It's they just took... Oh, what's the Firewatch's name? Oh, I think, oh, this obviously this takes your name. But, it would have been funny if it... yeah. Yeah, I would love to go to Europe. Maybe after the game is done. The thing is, I really need to stay in and finish the game, and it's so... This trip is going to be brutal because it's basically a 12-hour time difference, and I'm only there for like 3 days, 4 days. I leave on June 29th. I get there on June 30th, and then I fly out on July 4th. So it's like it's not even worth it for me to change my jet lag, but I was sent to customers. Where is this on? So this is at the Type A Game Developers Forum, but they are going to record it, which I think is really great. So yeah, like when I made the time-lapse video, I divided everything into months, kind of the different periods. So I'm sort of starting to piece together the different elements of the. By the way, let's check out Tom's push. Yeah, so I gotta do laundry today. Kind of figure out a bunch of things for Tom to work on while I'm gone. Prepare the slides, pack. And then the flight is at like 9 in the morning from O'Hare, right? So it's international, so I gotta be there at 7, which means I gotta leave at 5, which means I gotta be at 4, which means I'm probably not gonna go to sleep. But, yeah. I just wanna get back to a normal schedule, go to the gym 3 times a week, do yoga, wake up at the same time every day, and work on this game and finish it. Alright, so we'll tell Tom it's been fixed. Yeah, well, so this one, the GDC talk was very much about the kind of level design aspects of it. And for this one, I wanted to focus more on what were the you know what, since we're here, maybe I'll kind of just take today to talk about that. Might as well, unless people here really want to see me do level design. Oh, that would be amazing. It's like Tom actually is a lot closer to the airport than I am, so no, that's something else. Yeah, that's. But yes, I do need to do that. The problem is, like, I want to have them also on my iPad, so I can change, and like, iPad's ecosystem is just such a disaster, and you like everything's got to go through iTunes, so it's got to make sure. Like, I don't. Yeah, I wish it was just sort of like a USB and you were able to kind of transfer stuff over, but kind of going from the earliest, so this is like talking about how basically Portal is like the first game I played in 10 years since the N64. So the initial version of the game was very, very heavily inspired by Portal, right? You can see kind of, I mean, this just looks like a shitty version of Portal, but you can see me going for that like laboratory grayscale tile pattern texture, but it didn't work very well, and you can see even from a design standpoint I was having to rely on a lot of text. Nobody reads this stuff, by the way. Like very, very bad indications of what the player can interact with and what the player cannot. But this was sort of, yeah, like I said earlier, this was inspired by Rush Hour, and this, up until this part, it was the room was rotating, not the player. And so you can see when I started again, I was like, okay, you know what, we're not going to focus on the art style. We're just going to try to get the basics. You can see kind of playing around here. And the early part had slope, so it didn't... There were still only like 6 gravities, but you had like slopes that you could walk up and down. And then because there was physics, so you could like roll a ball down the slope. So it's sort of interesting to see how it's sort of really interesting. So this was March 2013, right? So over 3 years ago. It's really interesting to kind of look at this and see how many directions this could have gone in, right? It could have been this like physics-based game, like, and you can see the physics here, and then like everything was kind of falling all over, and so it did. Some parts did look cool because you were able. It did look in some ways maybe a little bit more Inception, because you can like have these things falling like at a degree and then freeze, right? So those might have been like red or blue objects, and they kind of freeze in that direction, but it just caused too many problems. And you can see at this point it was like, okay, we're gonna get rid of those. We'll use these. No, I mean I'm super happy with the way the game looks now. It's just interesting to see the evolution of that idea. I might actually send Tom on some talks. It's so exhausting. The only problem is that Tom is like way more productive than I am. you know, with programming, it's like you can make these like big systematic fixes. It's like I can come back and have it and have like a whole bunch of stuff fixed, and when I'm traveling, I can still do level design, like. So I don't have the idea here, right? Kind of that initial attempt to start adding coloring the floor so that players can see which side is down. You know what? How do I change it so that it's oh, there we go. Oh, yeah, so I'm a big fan of The Sims, and I think what I like about The Sims is that it feels... So there's a lot of things I don't like about The Sims, kind of the way EA has done that. Like, the expansion packs are just, some of them are just such a fucking ripoff, right? It's like diesel clothes packs for $20, and you get like 20 items. Hey, praise the line, welcome. Yeah, Jackie, definitely a lot of. It's been a long time in the works. But what I like about The Sims is it feels like when you go, kind of anything is possible. Like, you get a job, you get married, you fall in love, have kids, become friends, like buy a house, move into there. Sort of this feeling like so much of the world is open to you. I mean, I was a little bit exaggerating on that point. But I do think that they've sort of got like a really good loop of kind of getting you invested in some things, where like you really get to make the game how you want. I think the next game, like, and really having the player customize that, so it's not in the mechanics or the interaction or the game feel or the art style, but more sort of, I think this would be further down, but more in the sense of, hey, Tonka Truck, thank you for the follow. More in the sense of having designed a game that is non-violent, that lets the player kind of decide how they want to proceed. But I do think the way they kind of make it, they sort of just use that as like a cash cow now, it feels like. It's all about like microtransactions, and you buy furniture for your sim. I don't know. I'm not really a huge fan of that aspect of it. Yeah, like the flow of the game. Hey, None Superior Garrett. If they just contact you to go to Talk Tuesday or something, Sony sets up. No, so Sony doesn't. So these are usually like, it's usually when you do one talk, people get to know. So like, obviously the first 2 years, nobody was inviting me to do talks, right? And then what happened is like, some of the smaller events like Sigma Play had, what was the first talk I gave? Yeah, so I like met the guys from Sigma Play when I was at Indie PopCon, and they saw the game and thought that it was interesting, and then a year later they invited me to come and give a talk. You know, it's kind of like a bunch of smaller events. Like there's also a lot of local events in Chicago where I can do talks. So you kind of do some of these, and then you know, people see the game gets around, and then like GDC, they were looking for new voices for the level design workshop. So they reached out and asked me to kind of prepare something. And then, you know, Johnson, who's one of the organizers for the Type A Game Developer Conference, saw my GDC talk, thought that was very interesting, and then asked me to speak at Type A Game Developer Conference. So it's usually they approach you, but it's sort of like you, as you work on the game and you do one talk, and then that gets more of it. Like Rami is at every event I go to, right? Hey, Da Boy, welcome back. Right, like at Killscreen. So, and Killscreen, but usually they kind of senior work for 2-3 years. And the reason is just that a lot of these events are like once a year events, right? So it's like people find out about you, but then they've already got speakers planned for this year's event. Too much sunlight. It's like they've already got speakers planned for this year's event. And then maybe next year the theme isn't quite relevant. Then the year after, finally there's a spot, so it just sort of takes a while. Right, so kind of these are the initial, so I moved from these buttons to these because the issue was that you could use any box on this button, right? Whereas like this set, you basically had to use a blue box on it. Guy that travels over the place, that makes sense. You'd be at all the time. Yeah, Rami is at all the talks, and I don't know how he does it because, like, for me, it's such a toll physically, and he's coming from the Netherlands, right? Like, for me, going to LA, I mean, that's a 3-hour flight, and that messes up my kind of schedule enough, like my routine enough that I need like 2-3 days to recover. I can't imagine coming from the Netherlands. I think, yeah, maybe he just does it so much that he's used to it. But like, I'm totally the kind of person. It's like I gotta hit the gym 3 times a week. I've got my routine, you know. I like to be in my own bed. When I go to the grocery store, I kind of try to get the same stuff. And if I don't, and I can't work on my laptop. I have to, like, right now I've got 3 monitors, and that's just enough. Oh yeah, Jernicus, you were there. Yeah, he was in, I think his plan was to like go to, I think he stayed in New York for Killscreen for a while after E3, but he went to Killscreen and then E3, and now he's back in the Netherlands. I would not be, and he was talking about coming with me to Taiwan. And I love Rami, I love hanging out with him, but like, I don't know how he does it. Yeah, he's a professional flyer. But yeah, I hate being on planes and I hate working from my laptop, so traveling is just not fun for me. I mean, if I were to like actually want to, if the goal was to go backpacking and like, you know, I could do that. So here are some interesting shots. Yeah, so you can see cleaning up that, moving from this like circle pattern to this. How do I do the, anyone know how do I make the default one just not, oh god, come on, how do I do this? Copy blank one, control V. Yeah, but there should be a way where you can just do that. Because then otherwise you always need to keep But anyway, these are sort of early attempts. This was before you could go outside with the wool wrapping. That added a lot of it's sort of interesting. You can see me attempting to do that complexity. But you can see in these early stages I'm trying to capture that Escher-esque feel. You know, it just was a side-by-side view. Well, to be fair, I haven't been working in PowerPoint every day for the last 3 years, so. Yeah, so you can kind of see, like, these were the early, right, it moved from, like, we go from here, where you can see it's got this button. I think they were all red, actually. This was just, that must have been, yeah, I think it was, like, I got some object from the asset store, and it was just red. You see that door. And you go from, like, okay, we're going to get rid of physics, so everything's on a grid. We're going to start coloring the floor so you can see which way's down. Switching from boxes to these plates so that you're like coloring. So it's like at this point it's all about the puzzle mechanics, but you can see sort of as I'm doing this, I'm kind of learning. This is the most interesting stuff to me because these are all levels that didn't work at the time, but they do work now. Like, yeah, it's interesting how. How the kind of a lot of the ideas, it was like early on I had the ideas and I wanted to do them, but they just didn't work. And this is another really interesting idea too. This was this giant level that you would fall for like 10 minutes because I wanted a bottomless pit, but the problem was that it couldn't actually be bottomless, right? So it ended up being kind of the worst of all worlds where you just had no idea how long you were falling for. And the reason why you have the laser here is because you can't, I didn't want you to be able to touch them, right? Because I didn't want you walking along the wall, so I'd kill you if you touch it. So you just had to like fall here, and it was just like, oh, cool. Like it was a really terrible design, but again, sort of interesting how the wool wrapping ended up creating that feeling much better without all the problems that this implementation had. So how was everyone's weekend, by the way? All the uneven place images not filling the whole slide. Yep, that's just me. It's all about the ideas behind these. That's kind of like the videos, you know. I kind of figured like either I take a really long time and it never gets done, or oh, you can see I started to use this is like August. You can see I started. That's when I got Pro Builder. Hey, it's interesting. You can almost see that the geometry gets a lot more interesting once I got Pro Builder in there. Watch the Assassin MotoGP race. Ooh, have you guys picked up anything good from the Steam sale? This is what I got. I think some of you saw the pictures already. Oh, I got a lot of stuff open. Oh, so The Witcher, this is interesting. So, buying The Witcher 3 alone is $24.99. Getting the trilogy bundle, because you get a 10% off, both of them together ends up being $23.83. So 2 games is cheaper than buying 1 game. But such is the magic of Steam sales. This is like very typical of what a lot of the levels look like. Very Portal. Like you can, oh, so this was a mechanic, this was a moving platform. So you can see at the time I just had this white line. But the problem here was that it ended up being very much a waiting game. Like if you were here and it got to here, you just had to like wait around until it got back, which is really annoying. Civ 5 with everything is 82 cents. Haha. Beep to bleep? No, I've only done it once, and this is it. Oh, nice, Hyper Light Drifter. I still haven't finished that game. I got it, and I played the beginning of it, but instead I indulge myself. Yeah. No, I actually think I think the thing is you probably don't want to do sales for quite a while. I think if the game might only ever be on sale, well, at least in the first year, like, I don't know, once for like 25% off or something. That seems like the way to go. Mostly because you end up doing people who bought your game full price a disservice. Oh, so I guess this level must be my first outdoor. This must be the first level where I tried doing something outdoors. And if I recall correctly, the reason for it was that I didn't want you to, like, I wanted you to not use the space around it. Oh, how much is Fallout 4 for? Should I get The Witcher? Like, the problem is I haven't been having a lot of fun with the open world games. I get tired of them so quickly now. Like, there's so much, I just get content fatigue. Gotta stay hydrated. Oh, that's not too bad. Ah, you can see also this is where, I guess now I can see this is where I must have started introducing the light source. Oh, right. So this is where I start differentiating colors. You see, right now, orange is active. These are really interesting for me to look at. Actually, it was... because it's sort of like... I can see all this stuff I was trying to do that just wasn't working. This is another cool thing. I had these like giant engines that you could turn on that would spin around. They looked really cool. I might actually bring them back. Well, they sort of have come back in the audio-visual scenes. Doom is $35 and praised for its unique return to FPS level design. Yeah, I mean, that's a thing. There are really big games. Like, I picked up Shadow of Mordor. And just they felt like such big commitments, and are so repetitive. So, talk about the shadows, yes. I guess there aren't going to be any words in this slide. This is a 1 hour long talk, actually. Oh, I like this phase I had. What? Just kind of starting to experiment with some outdoor pieces. Those outdoor looks like you wanted to keep puzzle inside trap until finished puzzle, then learn about the wool wrap. Yeah, this was actually not, the wool wrapping wasn't even introduced, wasn't even in the game at that point. So I actually don't know what I was thinking in those moments. Kind of interesting. So the reason why I got rid of water was that, yeah, we've gotten a lot of good press. It's been really positive. So the reason why I had to get rid of water was that you go inside, right? The logic is that the world, objects not in that gravity freeze. So blue boxes freeze when you're not in blue gravity. Red boxes freeze when you're not in red gravity, so on and so forth. But what would happen if you are in... So let's say you jump into... What happens? Can you walk on top of water? No. You go on inside. But you can change gravity while you're underwater, which would mean... Otherwise, how would you get out? Right? But if you are to change gravity... Now, water would freeze if you're not in that gravity field. So if you were to change water under gravity, it would freeze and then kill you. I guess we will get to that. I think it's kind of coming up now. Prezi. What's Prezi? That came actually after I had some ideas. It's really funny because that actually came from a conversation with Alexander Bruce. See here we are starting to I think there's like a film grain here. I'm doing ambient occlusion. Here I am, right? So this is like the architecture is like starting to get there. We're starting to find that experimenting with different color backgrounds. can see here, oh, you know what, I'll look at this, yeah. Like, you can see here, I'm starting to go with, like, more mood-based lighting. Yeah, well, you know, the thing is, this I might do that, but, I do have, like, other things I want to kind of insert into them later, and, there's always the possibility that my computer doesn't work, so, like, or it's on a Mac, and I just want to, you know, I want to export it into a PDF, and besides, the way I'm sort of doing this now is kind of helping me pull my thoughts together. Oh yeah, like this was for a while, this is something that was very typical. That's not a bad idea, I might do that. Though it definitely, that makes it look like you just didn't prepare. Yes, it was. I mean, yeah, it's like if I knew what the game is now, it would take like a year. But you can see it's sort of like none of these worked, but you can see I'm like trying to go with like a more. You can see this is sort of that phase when I'm starting to experiment more with architecture and seeing where that goes. I think these were the initial trees. This is what trees looked like before. Wow. They actually look kind of cool. Wild Bit Viewer as an alternative, but as a pay thing. Why would you want to, like, what is it? It's an alternative to Windows Explorer? Hey, Flint Steel. Yeah, we are kind of taking a trip down memory lane. I'm putting together slides for my talk at the Taipei Game Developers Forum. Yeah, you know what? Let's take this moment to just kind of collect images because I think that's actually a lot more fun. Yeah, sort of. This was when I started kind of really having fun with the architecture. Google Slides, but super primitive. Yeah, well, I mean, I have BizSpark. Oh, you can see these are sort of the interesting. These are the, I guess these are like the earliest attempts at the windows. No, I think this must have been it. I think it was I started doing this with the window. You can see this isn't even like a window. This is not, I don't even know what the hell this is. It's like a wall that you can see on the side, but what's the point? And I think I was trying to make this replicate this design pattern. I do love how the water looks. Oh yeah, I think that's what it was. I think I was trying to do tetramino patterns. Oh yeah, this was funny. So I added these lights, and then everybody thought they were buttons, so I got rid of them. And then here you can see me, I guess like I had kind of experimenting with outdoors, and this is where I introduced, here's, you can see me starting to introduce windows, and that's when I started introducing the white background. This was like these steps would form, this bridge would form in front of you. Desktop app. The water is great, they just cause a lot of I've never played Mario Galaxy, so no, it hasn't. But yeah, I haven't played it. Okay, right. So you can see I'm getting that light coming in. I think this was like, you can see here is sort of some of the earliest attempts at so this is going to be very interesting. Right, you kind of like, I'm starting to go through that, and we're having darker lines, trying to experiment with an art style, and I think right now, so you can see there's the ambient occlusion happening. One of the very first attempts at edge detection, I think I was just using Unity's default edge detection. Looks terrible. See, right, see, this was when I had ambient occlusion and edge detection, and it just looked really dirty. Wow, this just looks like really bad anti-chamber clone. I do like the lighting, though. Huh. Yeah, but you can see sort of like me, this is a good example of like trying to out of different things. It was like, okay, edge detection, no grid. Is it edge detection and ambient occlusion, no grid, ambient occlusion, no grid, no edges, grid, ambient occlusion, different patterns. Where is that batch of images, by the way? Right here. Does SSAO screw with you? It does. No, it's different. But oh yeah, this one. It looked like Minecraft. I think this was more of a joke. This is just trying to do something completely different. But yeah, during this phase, I think I was doing a lot of different... Oh, you can see kind of that first thing with the windows. The first thing with water, so at the time you could like use this to I'm just going back and forth between two images, but at the time I guess the idea was that you could like use the water to power stuff. Some fire effects here and there. Is it a... Oh, keynote. Ah, I see, for the slideshow. Yeah, so you see this one, like, Right, so this is sort of early attempt at letting players go outside. Yes, so here we're getting to the interesting part. Again, you can see me trying to get that Escher thing going on. But there was no logic to these levels. I was just sort of randomly building them. Wow, it's interesting that this was the exit room and I actually kept this idea. This is really fucking cool, huh? Interesting. Huh, the earliest water. So I remember this was the game that I took to GDC. Right, so you can see like here we're starting to get there. And this level eventually became the opening level of the game. So I remember these laser beams. This level, if you've seen the game played a few times, this level probably looks familiar. Yeah, well, for me, it's really useful to go back and see how, like, so this is, I can actually see the exact time, right? 2014, March 28th. This is at 9:30 p.m. at 22 seconds, right? I know exactly that was when I took this. So I guess I was working then. Yeah, I've just kept so much of it that now it sort of makes sense to keep it, right? Because I think the evolution of the game is there. We were actually just talking about that. It's like they made it just for me. I'm pretty sure it's only open to partners. Like three and a half. So yeah, this was the kind of the first one, and you can tell the. I actually kept the link of the website. This is, I have it bookmarked here, but I remember looking up this, and this was the style because it was like the style of old architecture renderings. So he did it, and I was like, oh, that's how edge detection works. So I tried to do something like this. You can see he had the colors fading to white in the distance. So I tried adding something like this. The problem is that this does not look good. This only looks good in static images. When you're moving, it keeps getting redrawn all the time, that it just doesn't work that well. Right, so that was kind of the early. So I was just like, oh, so that's where I started to get that. Actually, might take some. Yeah, so then from here that was like, okay, let's try to do, because so that was after GDC, and basically I got all the feedback was like, this game needs to get work, like the art style, you need a new art style. And this is one of the very first screenshots of the outdoor area. When I was like, oh, you know what, this looks, like, I was like, okay, this looks kind of interesting. Like, you can see there's still a ton of artifacts, but I think with that, right, you can kind of see where we're getting at. But this is sort of what convinced me that the edge detection could work. Like, I was like, okay, you know what, this feels Escher-esque. And okay, I think, yeah, right, so there's no shadows, so here we start playing with shadows. Still no woe wrapping at this point. So that's coming up, So basically this was like I started working on the art style, right? And we are, and I'm like, okay, this is good. I'm gonna take it to, this is what I'm gonna show at. Man, I actually really like this screenshot. It looks very simple. Yeah, I think I remember. This was when it was at this point I was like, okay, yeah, I think the game looks kind of good now. So I took it to GDC, and people would get outside, and they'd jump off, and I would fade the screen to black, and they'd be like, oh. So, and I remember I showed this to Alexander Bruce. So it's funny. So there's actually, we started talking about. So I showed him some of these levels, and he was like, "This is all one level, right?" And he said, "You know, your background is too blank." Yeah, he's like, "Yeah, the background is too blank, and it's just not very interesting." And he's like, "Well, maybe you can have me have something sort of in the distance that moves away when you change gravity." And I was like, I don't know. I don't want that, because I want everything you see in the game somewhere that you can get to, right? Because I just played BioShock Infinite, and that game's got a lot of invisible colliders. Beautiful world, and you're like, I want to explore. Nope. How about there? Nope. And it's just like, come on. Like, they just made such a beautiful world, and it was so frustrating not to be able to explore that. But, and you know, I was also playing Skyrim at that time, and I remember, so like all the open world games I played before was like Assassin's Creed and Grand Theft Auto, which are open world, but it's still like are enclosed. Like there's like the stuff in the background, and then there's the city. Whereas what's really cool in Skyrim is you can leave the city and get to the mountain in the distance, and you're like, holy shit. So I was like, okay, I wanted the rule that everything you see you can get to. And yeah, they are frustrating. They're like, some games have them, some games shouldn't. Like I can understand The Witness having them, and it wasn't a problem, but they didn't feel good. So you know, he was like, maybe you can put some stuff in the distance, and I was like, I don't think they're gonna work. And I remember there should be a screenshot here where I put this like sky in the. Oh shit! I wonder if I took it out. There's like a really bad example here when I just put a skybox. Sucks, because I actually would like to find that image. But yeah, I think these were some of the earliest. You can see I just kind of took some pieces and added, and I remember Alex said this is like, he was like, oh yeah, it's going to make an already confusing game even more confusing, but it actually worked out really well. So you see, it's like I was still trying to find the right balance, but it provided stuff in the sky. Hey, Zeus. Yeah, hello, how you doing? Welcome back, by the way. There's like a picture of like this skybox that looks really ugly. It may have been from the previous month. Interesting. I definitely did it. Like, I want to show that picture mostly of why it didn't work when I added a skybox. But I can't seem to locate that for some reason. I remember it was around this time I did it, because that's when I sent it to Alex. Ah, here! There we go. These were the attempts with the skybox. You can see they look absolutely awful. I mean, I think if I had maybe tweaked it, it would have maybe looked like Gravity Rush? Possibly? But yeah, so anyway, Alex got me thinking, and so it was actually then after, so he started talking to me about it at PAX East. And then after PAX East was over, I hung out with a friend of mine, a roommate from college, who is a mathematician. And I was staying with him. He was in Boston at the time. He was getting his PhD from MIT, so I stayed with him in Boston. And we kind of started talking about like different geometries, and that was I remember walking on the MIT campus behind my friend Lucas, and I was like, "All right, see ya, Zeus." And I was like, "Holy shit! What if I have the world wrap around on itself? Because then I can have stuff in the distance that you can see." And I still maintain the rule that everything you see, you can get to. So that was how that started. So, yeah, you can see these are kind of the early ones. Very rough, but I was like, okay, I've got something in the sky now. That's good. Right, and I'm just trying to figure out, like, what's the right distance? How many should I have? Like, you can tell, like, this is definitely too much. Like, too busy. Right, it looks almost wallpaper. And then I think it was like here where we spread it out a bit more. And I think this was maybe the screenshot that I was like, huh, this works. Like I saw this and I was like, this looks cool. Like same thing here. So these were the ones that kind of convinced me that this was a cool style. This talk is going to have a lot of freaking screenshots. So from, oops, no, that's not the one. I want to keep this one. So that was where, so that's kind of how that got started. So that's how the wool wrapping got added. It was, I didn't, like, people were like, oh, it's the same thing from the ending of Antichamber. And I don't think I've even beaten Antichamber at that time. No, I'd seen it. But it wasn't like, oh, Antichamber does it, I'm going to add it. It was more like I had these different ideas. What is funny, though, is that it did come from a conversation with Alex Bruce, right, who made Antichamber. So it was like, we were talking about a very different problem. Like, I think he added it because he didn't want to have death. And I added it because, you know, I wanted to not have stuff in the sky, but not create new content and still let you get there. So it was yeah, March 2014. So it's like Alex Bruce initiated the conversation that led to that idea, but it wasn't like, oh, it wasn't like I was playing Antichamber and saw it and just sort of took it from there. But anyway, from here on, it sort of starts to get a little bit more static. You can kind of see me, like, here I am. I think I'm experimenting with vignettes, kind of trying to create more of a mood to the space. And at this point, I still kept the kind of this grid pattern. Yeah, I was trying to make it feel moody. I remember at this point, I was going, 2014, I was going to a ton of events. And at every event, I would just be like, how can I make this look better? How can I make this look better? Like, and I'd ask everyone. And it kind of was like this for a while. This one, just again trying to go back to that feeling of yeah, this is a cool one, kind of a more realizing that density. This was, I think this was a really important screenshot, because this made me realize that even with a simple space, the density has a big impact. Like, simply repetition of something is impactful, and that it almost creates its own sense of pattern, right? Like, this is just boxes, and yet it looks very powerful. Hey, major idea. Yeah, no problem. Feel free to ask questions too. Yeah, I got rid of the grid because, so at the time I had the grid because I had these puzzles where you needed to place the box exactly at 4 units high. And the way I got rid of it was I was like, I just don't need it to be at 4 units high. It's like, I'll just have it at 2. It's like, it can be anywhere between 2.5 and 4. So you didn't need the precision that the grids involved. Oh, so here, this is the, yeah, like you can see here, this was a very, right, you kind of needed that, but I just made it so you didn't need to be super precise, and that meant I didn't have to have the grid anymore, so that was kind of an interesting. So yeah, you know, we're kind of continuing to go for this like soft look. And I was still, it still looked too much like Antechamber. But I found, someone showed me a picture of Libya's Woods work. Borg-like. Hey y'all, falling came part of getting to the next level. So somebody showed me, so actually he's got like in 12 Monkeys, that, you guys know that kind of that machine, they actually just like stole it wholesale. They took it from this. He actually sued the production team and won. Let's see if I can find this one I'm looking for. I guess he's like a conceptual architect, but anyway, I think somebody showed me one of his, oh, he showed me this work. Somebody showed me this work. And I was like, okay, one way I can separate it from Antechamber is having like a high density of line work. Oh, that's an interesting. Yeah, that's sort of the opposite of where I started, right? I had the mechanics, So what was interesting was I saw this and I was like, okay, let's go with just something. This is when I started to not focus on puzzles and just kind of go crazy with lines. Like I was just like, I'm just gonna draw a whole bunch of stuff and not care. And that became very interesting. And I think that started to, I was like, okay, antechamber is a lot of interior spaces. And now I'm gonna focus on outdoor stuff. And that's kind of what got me into making the outdoor architecture, putting focus on the architecture space again, right? Well, welcome. I mean, you can always watch the archive, but yeah, if you have questions, we're sort of about halfway through there. It's very cool. I'm gonna end the stream. So I have a meeting at 5. But yeah, you can see like kind of a lot of these levels. So now the way I'm designing levels is I'm starting off by focusing on the layout first. You can see here one of the reasons I'm trying to find the shape, figuring out how the overall structure of it is going to be, and then filling in the details. Whereas before, you guys remember, it was always like these rooms, right? It was always tiny rooms, and here I'm like, okay, let's think about the big picture. This is that level. Look at that. This is here 2 years ago. It's interesting, like I'm starting to be like, okay, these windows are now adding in something, right? And for those of you who've been watching, you kind of see how that, like how these like, I'm like, wow, I'm noticing I'm getting a ton of very strong visuals based on the shadows. So that's when we started focusing on that. Holy shit, this is interesting like I feel like I finally perfected it recently with this latest level. And yet it feels like right, it's like I feel like this level, right? So this is like the latest level we've been looking at, right? So look at this. This is so interesting. Right? Like this is kind of where these are not maybe the strongest, but I feel like there's like a couple more. Right? Like here, and it's so interesting that I didn't realize I actually almost had started it back then, but it's a world of difference. Look at that. That versus this. Interesting. Yeah, the heavy architectural focus definitely sets the game apart visually. Also, the shaders that use the neat sunset-ish color gradients. Yes! So... well, it doesn't seem like Major Ideas issue would be solved by a poll, though, since it's like a gameplay issue. You have to let people try it. So... what happened then was, but this whole time I was still getting a lot of comparisons to Antechamber. What happened was I went to Indiecade, and so I went to Indiecade, like always, I just went around and I asked everybody, how can I make this game look different? Oh, this was the Tokyo Game Show. This is really cool. Okay, so I had this, and I went around asking everyone at IndieCade. I just like had a picture of the game on my phone, like I do now, right? Like, you know. Let me see if I get this camera. But yeah, I always just have a picture of the game on my phone to show people, like, it's my lock screen. And this is an interesting transition. So this is pre-IndieCade, right? And everyone's like, yeah, it looks too much like Antichamber. And Josh Boggs, who made Frame, kind of said that that's like something to deal with. And I talked to Russell Honor. He's one of the Arcane kids, and he gave me the best advice. He said, screen space gradients. And I was like, what? And he said screen space gradient. And if you look at that game, Vane, game that was out, I don't know, I think it's still a work in development. So he showed me Vane, and look at this. Look at this. Blue to red. Screen space gradient. It's just blue to red everywhere. Blue to red, blue to red, blue to red, blue to red. Like, top down, it's just screen space gradient. And so one thing I started to focus on was adding stronger shadows. So you can see here, we're starting to do this, right? So making that, did NBA, what was that NBA 2K15 folder in my PS4? Let me see that. No, I don't think Sony, it's not. It must have been like, I think I just transferred, oh, you know what it is? It's I transferred a bunch of NBA 2K files when I did, when I made my career highlights. Which, we will watch now. You see, I was, I just like recorded a bunch of videos and I cut together a video. Player of the game. Look at that. So it's not Sony did not do anything. It's just like hey, Mr. McSmelly, thank you for the follow. Yeah. I took the Indiana Pacers to the finals and we beat Golden State Warrior. Oh no, I tried, so I got it. I got NBA 2K16. But two things. They changed the controls. So like the way you call for pick and rolls is like a different button, and I was like, I don't want to have to learn. I like really don't feel like having to learn the new control scheme when the game looks more or less the same. And then I don't like the My Career mode. Like, so, like Spike Lee directed the story, and I guess the setting is you're like an African American growing up in New York, and you've got a sister, but it's like, but it's still this character. It's still me, right? Like I made myself. So I'm just like, like, why is my sister black? And like, that's not, like all of it was just so, I think Spike Lee did not think of it as like, with player customization in mind. If it had been like, play the story of this character, that would have worked. But it just didn't make sense with the way I wanted to play it. Like, in 2K15, I was, you know, there was only the like, it was like only your interactions with the GM, your interactions with the other players, and only the interactions with like your coaches and like your agent. So it just felt like you could sort of fill in all the gaps. So it was kind of an interesting lesson in how like when games try to force more story, it almost is like less immersive. Yeah, so I was just like, okay, but like I was so excited though because you start playing from high school. So I was like, oh man, this is gonna be like a really cool way to really flesh out the story more, starting from high school, going through university. Because one problem I had with 2K15 was they start you off and you have no skills. It's like you're missing layups. And it's like, dude, I'm in the NBA. How can I be missing layups? So more of it a place where I'm trying to figure out the mechanics that lead to the experience, feeling going. I find that if I try to make something different, it's like sailing in uncharted water. Too many targets, I'm not going to hit it. I find maybe is like taking the time to prototype without the art style. So it seems like now you've got a good art style. It's like maybe you can prototype and then see a way you can fit the art style in. So yeah, it was really disappointing. I was like, well, you know, I picked it up on PS Plus, but I was like, I would have been really upset if I had paid $60 for it because the My Career mode was kind of ruined. And I don't, yeah, why do they change that with the sports games? Like, what is the point? Because they seem to be mostly just roster changes, and then it's like, I don't want to have to learn. I spent a year getting good at the old control scheme and getting used to it, and it's like now you've just changed everything. Anyway, so I'm playing 2K15 and not 16. Yeah, but I really thought it was like, because it makes sense to be, I thought they'd have like more training stuff in high school and you can build up, and it would make sense that you would like start to be, you know, more of a forward or a point guard. Like you could, instead of sort of picking your role, that could sort of happen based on your playing style very naturally, and it was just such a disappointment. Hey, P-Fist, we were just complaining about, kind of talking through the art style. But anyway, you can see here, I'm starting to focus on stronger shadows. And I remember showing Josh Boggs this image, and he was like, yes, this does not... Josh was like, okay. I mean, people still say it looks like Antechamber, but he was like, okay, this feels different from Antechamber. Is that even an option? Do they let you do that? Right, okay, so here I am, I'm experimenting with, oh, this is like obviously too much, but I just kind of wanted to show kind of like where I was kind of taking it. Right, and I don't think I'd added the gradients yet. So... Again, so here I am, I'm focusing on the stronger shadows. Yeah, we're talking about the art style evolution of Manifold Garden as where do I start doing that? There's still no gradient here. Okay, but it's looking good. Like, this is quite close. This is like decent. But, in a way, it's almost a good thing that people keep comparing the game to Antechamber, because every time that happens, I try to push a little farther. Just some kind of weird experiments that I did. But to... Oh, yeah. Yeah, it definitely would be. Like, I think I probably would have settled. It's like if Antechamber didn't exist, I would have settled on this style a long time ago. But it's like because that... Oh, shit, yeah, that looks good. Yeah, that is a good style. It looks very Journey, like that kind of game, like Zen peaceful. But the comparisons with Antechamber just kept pushing me to keep tweaking, and I'm trying to find where I started doing the screen space gradients. this looks good. Look at the shadows. It's very nice. Where did I do? Okay, it looks like I wasn't doing much here. Some different experimentations. Obviously all too much, but they're too much to the point that they ruin. This is like almost No Man's Sky, but it's too much to the point that you like can't see what color you're in. Yes, Flower, that's the one I was thinking of. Not Journey. That's why I said that game company. Where did I add? When did I start adding the screen space gradient? Come on. Okay, so it must have been in. Okay, here we go. Here we start doing that. That looks like it's a bit there. Okay, it looks like I'm starting to do it a little bit here. It looks very subtle. Oh, no, wait, I don't want the shortcut. Pastel colors of the folder. The game, yeah, I didn't change it until September of 2015. I think here is actually there's a screen space gradient is there. Yeah. I don't know, it's still an Antichamber ripoff. I gotta not let that get to me, man. Yeah, I think around this point, that's when I was like, okay, this doesn't really look like Antichamber anymore. I am. I do like that. Yes. Screenshot. What the fuck is this? Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, I think, but this for me, I was like, okay, this does not feel like Antichamber. Yeah, I know, but people, I keep seeing it. I gotta stop reading fucking YouTube comments, you know? But, anyway, I think that kind of, we covered pretty much most of it. I've got to go in and fill in the details, but I think that's like, gives you a good taste of it. Nah, I don't, I think it's, no, I mean, I think, well, like, but you know, I totally did it to Major Ideas game, right? Like I was like, oh, that reminds me of that game company's. I meant to say Flower, but if you, it's like minimalist art style with vegetation, and it's just like there's only one. So I just think of Antichamber right away. It's like there's only one that's out, right, which is Antichamber. So I think it's just, I think once the game is out and people play it, they'll see that it's different. But it's just, it is like a Park Rage. This is the first thing that pops in your head. Like when I see games, I'm just like, oh yeah, it's that. And I think it's just because there's not a whole lot that Antichamber comes up, and it's like that game sold very well, of course, but. Yeah, I think once I start showing people the gameplay and letting people see it, that's not going to be such a problem. It's just when people are like, "Oh yeah, it's just it looks like just an Antichamber ripoff." It's like, fuck. But anyway, I'm gonna wrap up the stream now. Well, I did not expect to go for that long, but it is almost 5 o'clock. Yeah, it's just that it's the only game that's remotely similar. So, and it seems to get people the right expectations, which is good. And, you know, I know it's, for me, it's more of like a personal, emotional thing, but I know people are going to compare the game to Antichamber, right? And the thing, oh, it's 75% off right now, by the way. The thing with Antichamber is that, look at that, overwhelmingly positive, almost 10,000 reviews, overwhelmingly positive. And it's just like, people are going to compare it to the game, right? And they're going to say, okay, which one is better? And this is just like a really fucking high bar to beat. Like, this game has sold, I think, almost 1 million copies. It's got 10,000 overwhelmingly positive reviews. 97% of the 95% of the 9,000 reviews for this game are positive. And it's just like, if it falls short of that, people are gonna be like, it's like Antichamber, but not as good. And so that's a really, that's more what I'm worried about. You know, it's like, oh, yeah, Antichamber did that already, so why bother? I don't know. You know, that I think is what's gonna be tricky. But then again, it's like, I guess, you know, when Bruce was making Antichamber, there was Portal. But maybe you can say, like, Portal's by Valve, or it's like, Antichamber's also by a small team, right? But fucking A. It's 27,000 positive reviews. I think it's better this way. Imagine if the aesthetic was all over the place instead of being compared to a surprisingly huge indie success. No, it's true, it's true. It's like, but can you imagine if Antichamber didn't exist? And it was just Manifold Garden, it would just be like, holy shit, everybody would just be like, this game is so original, but you know, maybe nothing is new under the sun. Anyway, you know, that's sort of the landscape, and I think, at the end of the day, Rixar Zero, what? This looks interesting. I mean, if you made a game that looked like this, it's just like, Yeah, I think it's different enough that people will. I think what I can expect is people will be like, hey, you know, initially I thought it was just gonna be like another Antichamber, but then as I played it, I realized it was like way bigger and different. But yeah, you know, I think having Antichamber sets a very high bar, and that's definitely pushed me to keep exploring the game, to keep trying to make it different. And ultimately they're different games. So yeah, we will see. Okay, all right, guys, you all have a good one. I'm not gonna do an outro today because my meeting is coming up pretty soon, but. Anyway, you guys all, thank you all for stopping by. It was great hanging out. I will be on tomorrow, but then no stream on Wednesday because I will be on a flight to Taiwan. I get back on July 4th. I might take the Tuesday after off, we'll see. But definitely plan on streaming, getting back, and it's going to be kind of continuous. I'm going to, hey Bart, thank you for stopping by. And I'm going to apply to Twitch again for partnership. I got turned down last time, but I think the stream's been growing, and huge thanks to all of you, by the way, for stopping by and being regulars. That's been very, very helpful. All right, take care.